Well, hello everyone. If anybody's watching, we've just started the stream for the pre-show for the weekly catch-up, and we'll be starting in a few minutes. Just want to see if it's working.
Okay, before you start, let me tweet out a couple of things. I'm looking for the stream. Here it is. Wait a minute. Nope, that was another one. Streamed 2 seconds ago. 5 views.
Well, your sound's coming through a bit better this week, by the looks of it. You're not chittering. I haven't started recording yet, so...
Okay, just a second. It's saying sign in to chat. It's not letting me chat in case somebody does show up. So I guess I just have an extra browser over here. I need to sign into this one.
I made you moderator for your sign-on, for your YouTube sign-on.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me do that. That wasn't something I was prepared for. Sorry about that. Then I was going to try to tweet something whenever we got done there. So normally I don't do it on this browser. I usually do it on the other one. Okay, let me see. Let's sign in. Where do you sign in at? Right there.
Yep, you're over there. Yeah, that's right.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
After last week, because I thought when I was doing the recording, I'll talk about it on the show anyway, right? So I've got nothing to talk about then.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, let me scoot this over here then. That's the one we'll be used to. Okay, now that one there I'm already signed in for. YouTube. So I just moved the other browser over there. I need to go to you. Goodness. I didn't realize it wouldn't let me do the
chat until they were signed into
YouTube. Without being signed in, I used a different browser, and so I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm running on the behind here. Okay, here's the live stream. Let's go. Okay, it likes me.
Upward.
Say
testing 1 2 3 4.
I can see. And greetings. Like I said last time. Okay. Now we have greetings. Okay, so I am now signed in on the YouTube itself. I need to get... So all I have to do is copy and paste to that address up there in order to send it to somebody or send it out over tweet or something. I want
to start with the recording in a few seconds, and you might want to just make sure everything's okay on the YouTube stream this time. So...
might be a good idea.
I'll start the recording in 3, 2, 1. Well, I've started the recording now, so hello everyone and welcome. We've started the recording, but we haven't quite started the show yet. I just want to see if everything goes okay. It sort of fell to bits last week when we started the recording, so just want to make sure.
But we did salvage it. I think it was okay.
Well, hopefully, that's right. So if you can go and check you might want to check and keep talking because it's you who sort of was doing the problem.
I did salvage it. I think it was okay. Yeah, it sounds...
So yes, I can hear that.
You might want to check the...
Mm-hmm.
And keep talking.
Yeah, so yours is going.
So it seems to be working the way it's supposed to.
Stack, and then we'll start the show. Hello everyone, I'm Jeff Blanchard.
And I'm Jeffrey K. Holbrook.
It's the weekly catch-up. I think it's number 18. Yes, it is. Well, here we are again, Mr. Holbrook.
Yep. 18 times now, and like you said on the second episode, they said it would never last.
But after last week's sort of debacle, it's any wonder that we sort of got cracking with the show, because we got started the show, but after we did start, you were just like a frozen puppet, and you moved every few seconds.
Well, I was kind of enjoying the break dance thing, just watching that happen and just jerking from one to the other. But the funny thing was the audio, though. It's going, hee, oh. That was
well, I don't
hilarious.
know if anybody did put up with watching it, because I didn't watch it myself because I thought it was just atrocious, so I deleted it off the live stream. But it was quite interesting fixing it up because you had the good audio of your audio, which you kindly sent through, and so I matched that up with the show I had and matched it up with my audio. But the only problem I had was that on my audio I had you going all funny, go and sometimes I would say something in the middle of that, and so I had to go through the whole hour and cut out every bit of your audio. So, but it was quite good. So I would say, "Oh, and how was that, Jeff?" And then your voice, "Yes, that was very nice indeed," or something went very quiet. And then you get back to me, but it sounded really good when it just. And I had to adjust the volume ever so slight. But every now and then you got a and you sort of did like a Max Headroom.
If I would. If I would laugh in the middle of what you were saying, if I would snicker or anything like that, then it was like, But we do what we can, we do what we have, and like you say, we that's just something else we just learned, and we just now tested to make sure that wasn't happening this time. So
well, that's right. We sort of thought there was something happening, but we thought no, it can't be that. It will be okay on the stream, but that wasn't the case. But I'll tell you what, though, it does. Make you think when you're doing these things, having backup plans for that. So at least we was able to recover the show and put it up. You might have been still jittering around in the video, but like you said, you can put up with a bit of bad video, but you just can't put up with bad audio. So at least the audio was, as I said, let's face it, if people can listen to us, they don't have to look at us saying things like, we're not doing any dancing tricks, or while you were doing the break dancing routines every now and then, but I mean, they don't really have to look at us, do they?
Well, I think it would have been entertaining for probably they would have laughed. I've never heard you laugh so hard. Okay, I think people would have laughed really hard for about 10 minutes, and then it would have been.
I've had enough.
Okay, I've had enough of this, and then that would have been the end of it.
I was watching this week. We had there's Tony and Chelsea Northrup do a weekly Tony and Chelsea and Tony live they do every week. I don't watch it live because it's too early in the morning, but I always watch the recordings, and it's about photography. But if you want to get back into it, you should watch that on it. So they do it. It's I know it's about 5 o'clock my time in the morning. Because it's around your time, it's Eastern time, so that would be probably late at night. Well, 5 o'clock it is. It's 5 o'clock your time at night on a Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Night because it's Friday morning here. But they discuss just photography and that, and get people's shots up and say what they've done wrong and what they've done right, and the composure of the shots and the settings. And it's quite a good thing, and they have little chit chat. But I've never laughed so much on that. They'd been away to Ireland, and they'd come back, and Tony was ever so brown. And he said at the end of the show, he said, "Do I really look like this? I look shiny and brown." And his wife just lost it. She just it was so contagious of laughter. She said, "You're just so brown." She just couldn't stop laughing. Like it was the last 3 minutes of the show, but she had tears running down her face. She said, "It's just the grey hair, the white teeth, and just a brown face." Because he said she just laughed so much. But they're the sort of things I like. They're unscripted, but you just have such a good time. And Tony and Chelsea do a great show anyway. But that's what I like about it. It's doing the things, but they say they have mistakes in there, but that's half the fun of the show, is because it's not. They have a point to get through. They look at people's pictures, read some comments, and that for about an hour. But apart from that, it's whatever they think, and it's a really good show to watch. So I'd strongly advise anybody who's into photography watch their podcast. And I didn't realise, but they do a photography book, and it's the world's biggest selling photography book. And only recently I'd sort of got to know Tony and Chelsea with doing the podcast, and I bought their book. It was only $9.95 an ebook. But I thought, so they certainly know what they're talking about, and they do all these different camera reviews and that out and about. So one of my big things, I don't know if you're interested, but the Canon on Tech Down Over this week was talking about the new Canon, the Canon, what was it, the 5D Mark IV. That's what it is. They've just released that. So.
Oh. I'm definitely a Canon man myself. I always was. Whenever I started buying, the regular 35 millimeter SLRs, my first one was an EOS Elan, and I really like the Canon equipment, and I actually still have some lenses that could be used on some, some Canon equipment. But like I said, it's been so long since I've been into it. I probably need to get caught up on the hardware and all the things like that, and probably some podcasts and some videos and things like that are probably what I need to do.
With photography, you only have to be out of it for a few months, and things change, and you forget, because what you start doing in photography, it sort of becomes second nature. And then when you forget, don't do it for a little bit, you think, hang on, what did I do now? And you have to sort of start thinking about but it's like everything, no matter what the equipment they bring out, they bring out all these really nice models, but it still comes down to technique and composure, isn't it, of the different things. You can learn the settings, but it's just putting them all together in the right thing. It's a bit like cooking, I suppose. You can have all the nice ingredients, but you can still cook a horrible meal.
Hadn't thought of that. There are some people, just like some people are natural at cooking, and it seems like they can't do wrong. There are some people that have a natural composition built into their photography, and it's it's just a little different in that some people just seem to automatically have it, and then other people, when they start learning about the rule of thirds and different things like that, there's kind of an odd look to it. I remember there was a local, one of the Kelpie photo walks. They did one here in Charleston, and I went to it, and they asked for everyone to send 3 of what they thought their best images were. And the local gallery that sponsored it was going to just have a gallery exhibition. They were going to pick one, and the local professional was going to professionally frame everything and, mat everything, and then they were going to have an exhibition. And so, of course, I sent them my 3 favorite pictures that I had taken that day. And whenever they matted it, I'm like, I went in and looked at it, and it was the way it was matted was wrong. I mean, it moved the main thing more toward the center of the picture, and no, it's not supposed to be there. I mean, it just moved it diagonal a little bit, and I'm like, no, that wasn't what I was going for. And so this professional matted the thing, and I just, and the lady who ran the gallery, was running the gallery that day, when I come in to see it, she goes, I'm still trying to decide what to do about that picture. What's going on? And I said, yeah, I am too. That isn't really the one I sent in, because it's kind of, the composition is different. It's off from what I had.
But it's a bit like years ago, you was always taught, center the shot and do everything like that. But that's definitely not the thing that you do these days, is it? It's if you center the shot, that's a dead no-no. There's only sort of one in probably 1,000 times when you can get away with doing it. It all depends on the scene, but there's very few times you can get away with just a straight-on shot. But it's just like taking a picture of somebody sat at a bench. Anybody can do it, but if you get up high and take it from high pointing down, or from low pointing up, it's just a different perspective. Everybody stands straight in front of people and takes a shot. So I like those ones. Like I've done with the video camera, like on Santa Monica Pier, just sitting on the ground and taking pictures of people's feet walking up. It seems strange, but right down from ground level, it really looks different than just taking a shot of people walking up, and it's really just makes it look a little bit different.
Yeah, I would say 90% of the pictures of the world are taken right from eye level, between 5 and 6 feet. I mean, that's the perspective of most of the pictures of the world. So if you can just bend over a little bit, sit down, sit on the ground, lay down on the ground, or, get up higher on something and take something, that gives automatic interest to that, because it's not exactly like what everybody sees. Because what you're
That's
taking
right.
is what everybody sees. So if you go outside of that just little box, that adds immediate interest right there, because it's not what people usually see, and it catches
And
their eye
that's
whenever
why
you do
probably
that.
all these drones have taken off so well, is because it's a different perspective of the world that people are not used to seeing. So, like, how many times do you know
Mhm.
what you would? I wouldn't know what my roof looks like.
Hmm. Well, there are the drones are taking pictures that even
Mm.
helicopters would never be able to take, because they are going up just so high, and you can't fly. You could fly a drone right up over top
Mm.
of my house, but I live in the woods, so you can't get a helicopter within a few hundred feet of the top of my house, simply because of
Mm.
the tree cover and everything that's all around my house. Now, if you take so you can zoom in. Wait a minute.
Mm.
Zoom compresses details. So it's a different look and a different view from 500 feet up than it is from just 50 or 60 feet above my house. It's going to look completely differently because of the compression of a telephoto
And plus,
lens.
if you're looking for that great shot, if you that keen for movies or anything like that, crashing a $5,000
Mhm.
drone is nothing compared to clipping and crashing a $500,000 helicopter, or 100,000, whatever the hundreds of thousands out there, and killing somebody.
Oh yeah, like I say, they usually the fact that
Mm.
you end up taking some people out whenever you do that is
Whereas
even
that
even a bigger
Lisa
deal.
drones,
But yeah,
you might you shouldn't take anybody out with them, but some of these down big ones that are about the $10,000, they sort of can carry a great payload, and if you drop that from a height, it will certainly do harm to anybody that's
hmm
underneath it.
yeah. Hopefully, it won't reach terminal
No,
velocity
that's
before it
right.
gets to whack, whatever that is. That would be kind of bad, just going up and
Well,
dropping things on
with
people.
this new
That would be
Canon
really
camera,
sad.
one of the main things
Hmm.
that people have been after is Canon to release a DSLR that's got 4K on it,
Oh
whereas
wow.
this one does have 4K. But but
Oh.
one of the problems is, if you record an hour's worth of 4K video in any other camera that's in the same sort of
Hmm.
quality and the same quality of video, it's about, what was it? I think it said 40 gigabytes for about an hour's worth of video. But on this new Canon, it
Ooh.
takes up 226 gigabytes. So the codec they're
Mm.
using is just ridiculous. So can you imagine the amount of cards you need for 226 gigabytes just for an hour?
Well, goodness, you take a one terabyte drive, and what what do you got? You don't. It's going to take. I mean, it's not going to take very long to
And
fill
that's
that
what
up, just in no
they said.
time.
It's just, well, that's ridiculous when all the others said only a fraction of that for that. But
Hmm. Well, are they though giving you true 4K as opposed to doing some kind of major compression? The same difference between
no,
WAV and MP3
that's the thing. Said they're
on an
not giving
audio
you any
file?
better quality because it's 220 gigabytes. It's no different quality than the 40 gigabyte file. It's just the codec they're using to record it is not as efficient as all the other ones.
Well, how in the world, if everybody else released first, how would they have the guts to release that
Well,
without
that's
having
what
that
everybody's
fixed?
saying. Why bother? Because the people who want to get that for 4K want to have it for a particular reason. If they don't want the 4K video,
That's
they'll probably say they've got the Canon 5D SR, which is the 50 megapixel camera, which only has well, not only, but the 1080p high definition video recording, but that's more than enough. That's great quality.
hmm
But also, as well, what they've done in this one, it's a full frame camera, but the 4K is not full frame. It's got a 1.75 crop on it. So that's ridiculous as well.
yeah. I mean, it seemed like to me it'd be better to go with the lower resolution than it would be to give
Mm.
substandard higher resolution when there's other people that are better. That just doesn't make any
And it
marketing
seems
sense at
strange
all.
because everybody's been waiting for this camera because there's a lot of people have the 5D Mark III and they want to go up to the next generation and looking for something really good on it. And they've also done something called, what was it, dual pixel RAW. And what the dual pixel RAW, it's a great feature, but it's so when you're taking a picture, it's this 30 megapixel camera. So when you take a picture, it takes two 30 megabyte raw pictures, and what you can
Does it
do on
layer
that,
them
you
or
go in
something?
post and adjust the focus later. So if you want to blur the background up or just slightly adjust your focus, so you've got that room to recover in post, which sounds really good. Or you can do, but one of the bad things with it at the moment is, this said, well,
There's this other bad thing.
this was because I watched Tony Northrup did a great review on it, but he said, how many people out there use Canon software? Nobody. Will use Lightroom or something else, but nobody would use Canon software for their pictures. And this raw tech, well,
I didn't even know they had
that's it.
software.
And this dual pixel RAW feature is only workable in their software.
Maybe they're trying to get people to buy their software. Yeah. So once you buy their substandard camera, then you just might buy their software.
But the thing is if you're out at doing a wedding or something, you want to take advantage, you've got to think, now, if I take this, I can't open it in anything else except the Canon. Then you
right.
But I suppose if Lightroom, hopefully they'll support it in when the camera does come out properly, because will be coming out early September, but they're saying that there'll be stocks available of it. But
can you see people shooting weddings at 50 megapixels and things like that? I mean, I've heard photographers talking about doing it, and I remember whenever they had, a 12 or a 14 megapixel camera, and a professional photographer that I know, that I met, said, I never shoot any more than 8.
Well,
the
50 megapixel is the 5 DSR, not the 5D Mark IV. But as I said, a lot of the people who've got the 5 DSR, yes, it is a 50 megapixel camera, and it does take, such huge files. But the thing is they can do a lot more with it. It does a lot more detail, but it depends what you're using it for. If you're taking photos where you're constantly getting them on billboards or just big pictures, that's where the details come in. For the likes of you and me, just on Instagram or on, it really probably won't make a heap of the difference. But if you're actually doing them for print, it makes a big difference for that.
Okay. Yeah, that's something I was wondering about, because I remember running into a situation. I shot weddings on film. And so when you changed your roll of film, and stuff like that was very important. You had to work it up to where you were, when am I going to change that roll of film? Like there was this one particular wedding. My daughter, is an artist, and she's a good photographer. And I had to get up on stage. We were at my wife's best friend's wedding, and she was in the wedding, and her and I were going to sing a song in this wedding. So I handed my camera to my daughter and said, take 3 pictures total while I'm up there. Okay. We get up, we sing, and she takes 5 pictures. And so now I am 2 pictures off from when I was planning on changing the roll of film at the point in the ceremony. And because the first thing I did was look at, and so what I had to do with that one was hit the button and change it before I finished the roll, so I could change at the proper time. And so it's all that planning. If they get the megapixels really, really big, their storage isn't big enough, then you're liable to not be able to shoot an entire wedding on one card or whatever you're saving it to. I mean, they may get that big to where you can't do a whole wedding on one thing of media, because that was really a problem with
that's
film.
The thing with these cameras, even with the Mark II, Mark IV, and the 5 DSR, they do have dual slots, memory card slots.
Isn't that nice?
You can do that, but like they say, if you are doing weddings now, you can't be like me and you just with a single camera. If you are going to do a wedding, you always have a backup camera. You
Oh no, I bought one when I was doing it too. I had a backup camera myself just to make sure, and I had my daughter playing with that. And then if I ran into any kind of a trouble, then I just snagged it.
And the
and
thing
went ahead
is
and went on
Sony
with
seems
it.
to be winning the battle for the better camera, the still camera and video camera. It's just that they're losing on the picture quality, and the photos are excellent, but they lose out on different things like their range is doesn't have a dual memory card slot. So if you're
Okay, see, that was the first
and
time I ever heard
also
of
their
that.
batteries, they're so hungry on. They supply the how many other cameras on the market supply you with 2 camera batteries? And because
Oh,
well, they could,
there's
because
a
you're
good reason
lucky if
for
you get an
that.
hour's worth of shooting out of it. That's just film, not just stills. So
That's sad.
most cameras, like these Canons, you can get a whole day on a battery because you haven't got the electronic viewfinder. You just have the looking through the lens. But that's one of the advantages. You can actually see what you're doing. You don't do that chimping by just taking the picture and having a look, see how did it come out, because you know how it came out.
Now, the difference though, I remember listening to a photography podcast last year, and they were talking about how Sony was coming up with all these windowless cameras.
Mirrorless camera,
The
yeah.
mirrorless cameras. And that
Mhm.
was the big strong suit that Sony had, was the fact that they were beating Canon out on these mirrorless cameras. And, so you don't have the shutter tripping and the mirror flipping and all this stuff while you're doing it. And so there was supposedly supposed to be a major advantage. And he had always been a Canon man, but he was totally sold on Sony. Has Canon come out with
Well,
a
they've
mirrorless
got one,
camera
but in
yet?
the
or-
lower end. But what people were expecting was this with the 5D Mark IV. They was expecting you can get,
Uh-huh.
I think it's Pentax have it. They have a hybrid viewfinder which you can decide to look at the electronic viewfinder or just look through the lens as normal. And so that's what
Oh,
people are wanting
wow.
these days. So if you need to do that, because there's an advantage
Mhm.
about not having the electronic viewfinder, and the advantage is you can shoot for hours and hours and hours because you're not using much power. Whereas electronic viewfinder does
Okay.
eat up because it's on all the time. So you are using a lot more power to your camera.
No, so I hadn't thought of that. But I guess if you're, they've had mirrors flipping up and down for decades. I have right behind me here, under the skeleton guy, I've got my first real 35 millimeter SLR, and it's a 1969 Yashica TL Super. And so that's that one I told you that if I got caught in
Yeah.
the woods, I'd want to have that camera because it's like stainless steel.
You throw it at it.
It'll bear with it. But whenever you take a picture, you feel the mirror flapping back and forth, like it's like closing a vault door, and you've taken a picture whenever you hit that shutter. But it was all manual, just completely manual, and just your power was what had to actually flip the shutter. And so they've had that for years, and they know how to compensate for them. Now they've got electronics that compensates for the shake, things like that the mirrors were. So in your opinion, do you think then continuing with the mirrors or at least until they solve the battery problem,
Well,
do you think the mirror is best at this point still?
I think mirrorless is quite good because Sony have the problem. This is what I don't understand. Is others don't seem to have the problem. And the thing is with the Sony, they do a great camera, but I think they're aiming for a small compact camera. And that's the trouble. They can't have a very big battery to support that. But the thing is, you get these lovely cameras, and people are putting, a 24 to 105 mil lens on it, which is quite a chunky thing. So it doesn't matter if the camera's twice the size it is, because you've got this quite chunky, heavy lens on it. So you're not wanting a little one. So they could afford to make the body a little bit bigger and put in a bigger battery that would support it. Like I have the Panasonic FZ1000, which is a mirrorless camera, and I get about 3 hours out of my battery, and I think that's quite reasonable for when you are shooting video and all that. It works out quite nicely. But as I said, the Sonys are winning it, and I'm just waiting for them to fix up a few of the problems that seem to, well, not with the cameras, but it's just with those things like the battery life, because the pictures that you see coming out of them are really excellent. Like, I don't know if you've seen, they've got the A7R Mark II, which is the still full frame camera, and that does a 42 megapixel picture, but it does the 4K video, but it's a super 35 mil, I think what they call it, video, which is, so it's cropped, but that's still quite good. And then they've got the A7S Mark II, which is the video version, which the picture side is only 24 megabytes, but the you get full frame video on that one. And the great thing with that, it goes down to the low light capabilities. And I thought, well, yes, everybody can have low light, high ISO and get all these lovely grainy shots, but some of the shots I've seen with that camera that's in low light, this fellow was doing it, I see Jason Lanier, I think that was, he did one at an old abandoned mine shaft, and you see these people running up and down, you know, this machinery, and that, so that looks good. And it was in pretty much pitch black out there. And he turned it down, and you could see he did them on, off, but the quality of the picture was just quite amazing on that. And like some people say, you've got these high ISOs for cameras, but that's not very good if all these, because you have high ISO on a lot of cameras, but you just don't see anything. It's just very grainy, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. It could shoot in low light, but you want to be able to see it correctly.
I mean, whenever we were doing you had a lot of physics problems with film, and so in an environment like that, you had to do a long exposure and accept, you know, people streaking by and things like that. You just had to accept what you had. And then once they did start doing some more low light things, the shake stuff was a pretty good innovation, because you could actually shoot at lower shutter speeds and still get a cleaner picture. But like you say, I have not looked at equipment for the last few years. I checked out before they even made 20 megapixels. It was probably in the mid-teens last time I actually looked at cameras, and so I guess it's time for me to get caught up.
The thing is, with some of the Sony's ones as well, is they said they have a lot of different features in the camera. Like they have the image stabilization, like most of them have on the lens, but they have the sensor stabilizer, so it stables it inside the camera. So you can put a lens on that's not image stabilized, and it does a better job. So it's the actual sensor is on you know, stabilized, so that's moving and keeping itself level.
Oh, and that's cool. Now, and they still do that with the smaller camera and put that extra sensor in there?
That's why you know, the batteries run out quickly, and then they sometimes have problem with overheating, because I think it's the body's just too small, and it's usually when you're doing 4K video, because it can get quite hot.
Oh. Yeah, like I said, there's different, there's trade-offs, and everybody makes their decision about how they want their product to be, and they try to predict what people will want. But number one, I figure what everyone wants is a camera they can use all the time, that will continue to work with as many features as they can get, but they generally accept physics. And if your camera's overheating and you can't use it to get through an entire wedding or an entire anything, then people are going to buy the ones that are reliable and will work.
That's stopping Sony from being a professional video or photographer's choice for a wedding, is because of those few things. It doesn't have the dual memory slots, but there's other people that's gone over to that. They will swear by it because the quality of the picture is just worth. I think they'll put up with the shortcomings, but as long as they're prepared for it. As I said, I think they know if it's for photography, it'll go all the time, apart from the battery. But they know if it's video, well, don't get too involved in it too long a shoot, or else you're going to have a problem. But let's face it, if you're doing a wedding, you don't have a camera that can only take 30 minutes worth of video anyway, do you? You would have a proper video camera as backup. You'd have one of them as well that's shooting every down second of the day from different angles, just in case you miss something. You'd only have that to get the close-ups of the bride, or on your on your stabilization, going under them and walking around, doing all the fancy shots with that. But you'd still have you strategically placed cameras on there.
Usually the multiple cameras. I could see somebody walking around with an SLR, like you say, to get the accent shots. But you have a couple of other cameras stationary at certain places, and then you can actually have the video to switch between the different cameras. And then there's ones that you could get with an SLR. The shorter stuff, which almost would be like B-roll, but it would be the other things where you switch to some other setting when they're lighting the candle up a little closer, then show the far away shot, stuff like that. But your main cameras really need to just sit there and film the whole thing.
Have you seen these PTZ cameras, or PTZ, what do you call it? PTZ cameras? Pan tilt zoom cameras.
Oh, pan tilt zoom. No, I have not actually looked at any of those. Like you said, I've been out of the market for a while. Now you're getting me kind of intrigued and interested. I want to get back into this stuff.
Cheap, so that it's one that can easily say you'll forget about quite easily when you think about the price. But what they're designed for is, like we're doing here on Wirecast, where we've got the cameras in there. What you can do with those ones, you can have them, like if you had it up through like a Wirecast type thing, have them in there so you can set it up so it does an automatic pan to somebody, and set up your shots, and it's got about 20-30 times zoom, so the camera can be out of the way, not in people's faces, so you can have them up strategically placed and control that from, and a lot of them are over the NDI compatible, so as long as they're on the network you can pick up the camera feeds. For things like that, they've got it so you'd probably use them if you had something like a chapel. You'd set it up and do that as part of the thing, and sell that. Have somebody say, well, I've got that. You can use that footage from that, and that would be a good way. A lot of houses of worship do that for their normal congregation, so they can zoom in and do that without a camera being in front of somebody's face all the time.
So could it be something? I know a lot of churches around here are built with high ceilings, and then in the back up toward the ceiling, you see a window up there that's where the sound room is and things like that. So could you, for instance, you're having a wedding and where the different things are going to take place on the stage at different times. Yep. So you pre-program, say, where the unity candle is. You pre-program where they're going to be standing when the thing is going on. You pre-program when they're going to kneel down at the bench and pray. You pre-program those particular things, and then you just push 1, 2, 3, the same way you do with work.
But it's in vMix. But like say, if we do, if I put you on there with, you saw your title zoomed in, well, what you can do in those ones, you can do the same thing, but you have it live, but the camera pans into the shot. So you can point it on your face and pull it back, so it will come from back and then go straight into your face, and that's part of this other software called vMix. That's part of that, so you can.
Oh, so it actually finds the faces of the people and moves to those. No,
you still have to set that up. You still have to set that up. But
okay.
But these cameras, about $3,000 for the starting price. You can go up quite high, but depends on how much you wanted the versatility of the cameras. So, and they hook up to even, I think, something like a PlayStation, video controller. So you can connect that up, so you can control the camera of that and control the shots with the buttons on your controller. So you can be there just zooming in and out like you would with a game controller. But it's quite exciting what you can do. Like we were saying last week, compared to years ago, where you'd have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of setup. And I mean, if you've got something and you've got spent $10,000 on it, that's a lot of money for when you think just out of pocket. But when you think of if you're using it every week, that's nothing, is it? If you want to record and these houses of worship or things, I'm just saying houses of worship because it's the easiest one people can relate to. But there's a lot of things people want to have now, like we're doing, broadcasting it for people who can't get in. So you might be just a bit too far away. So they'll have a lot of audience for that. So I can see a lot of potential for those sort of things.
Well, we live in a very rural area, as I've told you. We live in the woods, but, there's a church whose property adjoins mine down the side of the mountain here. They're right down in the valley below us, and they do a live stream every Sunday. And so even little country churches and things like that are, again, I'm not sure how big their congregation is. It's probably not much, not 100, probably less than that. And they do a live stream every Sunday. So it's starting to become really, really popular for even smaller churches in a lot of places in rural areas to actually do live streams. And so people from all over the place, all over the world, I guess, can actually watch their shows. My friend who started his Christian podcast I was telling you about last week, he is just thrilled because there are people in different states and different countries actually that have already in the couple of weeks has found his podcast, and they're coming back and listening again when he puts up new material. And I mean, it's the whole worldwide concept of all this stuff is just shocking to him, and it's really cool. You see him, I got another one in Texas, or I got one here. And it makes me see again the excitement of whenever you see someone from another state or someone like I got 5 from France this week, and it's really exciting, and it's kind of like, wow, and so you just wonder who they are and what they look like, or whatever they're doing or what they think of you. But I just remember at the beginning when you get those first downloads and just how thrilling and exciting it is of the distribution that's possible whenever you're just living right here, and all of a sudden all over the world people are finding you.
I don't know if you listen to, there's another gentleman I like to watch. He does a show each week, and I just love the name of his show. It's called Streaming Idiot. And Tom Sinclair, and he does such a good job, and that's what he calls it. He said, well, when you start out with a name like that, you've got nothing to come down from. So he said, if somebody watches me, well, that's right. But I really admire him because he gets onto there and he can do like we're doing, but he does that by himself. I need you to talk to have something, but I don't think I'd be able to sit there talking to the camera. Although we're spouting a lot of rubbish now, but at least I'm talking to somebody. But he does that for an hour, and one of his things, he goes into depth about these pan, tilt, and zoom cameras, and he actually sells packages, computers with the software and all that to do that. And he got started doing this because years ago he was going to see, I think, a soccer match, I think he said, and somebody said, wouldn't it be great if you could just do this out for other people who can't see it? And he said, I think I can do that. And he got into that and did that, and that's where he sort of started his streaming, when he got that through the cell phone connection, and streamed that out live and showed people, because a lot of the parents weren't able to get there because it was on a weekday, a work day or something, but they said, we'd like to be able to have a look at it. And so he did that, and that's what got him into it. But if you ever get a chance, watch Tom Sinclair and Streaming Idiot.
Tom Sinclair,
which is he does such a good, he's such a clever man, and he's a nice. I think he's I forget where he is, and I forget, but he's down your side of the country anyway. I can't remember where he is now, but he's down your side of the country anyway.
Now, is he video or is he also audio?
Video. He does, if you have a look at his channel, you'll see plenty of his things, and I think he does it every Thursday. I think his show is on there, but he has a little bit of a chat room, and I think that's what keeps him going. He looks at that and answers questions through that, but he does a bit of a business setting up video gear as well. So.
Okay. No, that's really good. I really enjoy seeing people who are just talking about the things that you're interested in. I mean, because again, you've got the photography and you've got the live streaming stuff, and this is something you've introduced me to, because I have done a podcast by myself, but it was for about 10 minutes. I did 50 episodes, and it was scripted. I wrote what I was going to do, and it was scripted. And I'm used to performing from script. I'm used to doing that. And so I was able to pull that off, and people didn't realize for the most part that I was reading from a script, which so it worked out okay. But to sit here for an hour live, looking at the camera, hello, friends. I think today would be a great day. A minister, well, seeing how we were gathered, I have a text, something like that. But I mean, I don't know. It takes a special talent to do that for a solid hour without having anyone to talk to.
There's a few podcasts out there, and there's one I listen to, one each week, a photography one, and he was saying on that it is scripted. He does a 20-minute one twice a week, and he does it scripted. But he said that's what some people like because they know the format. There's no rubbish. It gets onto it, and it's about what's happened in the camera business or photography each week. And he went through, he had his 100th show, and he had a bit of an after show, the Petapixels Photography Podcast. That's the name. I just nearly forgot to give it a plug there, but it's a great show. But he was saying it's a 20-minute podcast. It might take him 2 hours to record it. And then he said, but it was said it might take him days to a day or so to prepare for what he's going to talk about. But then it will take him 7 hours to edit the audio. And like you and I know exactly how that is. You've got your script, but there's not only that. There's cars going past. There's people. There's all sorts of things that you still get in there when you're doing it for somebody else. It's not just your amateur thing. Somebody's paying you to do it. You've got to have the quality right. You can't have the lawnmower man going out in the back because you can hear when he goes into does his outtakes. He says, "Oh, there goes another plane." But you can relate to it yourself. When you're recording something, you say, "Oh, I can hear the dog barking in the background," and you start again.
Well, that's the difference between, I guess, whenever you live near other people and then whenever you don't. For instance, the front end that I put on the podcast before I put this out, I record it right here at the desk with the microphone, but there's a refrigerator over there against the wall, and I make sure that's off. I make sure that the furnace is not running at the time. And I had to go in a little while ago and ask my wife to mute the television long enough for me to do about a 10-minute recording. And so went in there and I said, hey, and did all the stuff I was going to do real quick and everything like that, checked it out, went in there and told her she could turn back on, and everything's fine. However, when I was doing the other podcast, in order to keep all those extra sounds from happening, I turned the furnace off. I go into the sound booth, because there is a possibility that a truck might make a noise going down the mountain over there. Whatever. I did hear that, and I kind of waited till they were done, and then I went ahead and did it. But if I'm doing something like audiobook or anything like that, anything special, I go in the booth and do that because of the isolation from the outside noise. That's the main difference. This doesn't sound bad out here, but the external noise can get in, but it can't get into the sound booth. And so external noise is the main reason why I still have the sound booth and still use it, is simply because it's clean and I don't have to worry about that. Or as one guy on the Audacity group said on Facebook, that I don't have to, he said, it's nice to know that someone doesn't have to sacrifice to the audio gods every time they want to turn on the microphone.
I find that I do the same sort of thing, but I find you turn off the air conditioning, you turn off everything else, you get into the sound room, and you've got an hour's recording, and by the time you come out there, you've lost 50 pounds because you've sweated some and it's usually that I hate it when it gets hot summery weather, and I end up doing it at 1:30 in the morning, because that's no cars, there's no people, there's nobody bothering you with that, so very little noise going on at 1:30 in the morning.
That's probably another advantage that I have where I work night shift to start with. I am recording generally, anywhere between midnight and 5 or 6 in the morning before all the traffic starts going to work, which again is a couple hundred yards in that direction. But still, yeah, I'm recording in the middle of the night, and there's very little traffic anyway. We don't ever have airplanes here, but but doing it at night is a major thing you can do to really save yourself a lot of trouble.
The only thing I don't like about that is, if I do it in the morning, because I've done that once before, you have a much deeper voice. At the end of the day, it tends to be a bit, I don't know how to explain, because your voice gets tired after you've been speaking all day, so it's not quite as deep as it is first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I noticed when I was doing the audiobook that I did, but at different mornings I would have different tones, and I might be more tired one day than another or something like that. But where I'm awake at night anyway, it's like if I do something around midnight, that's around noon for most people. And so I might be doing something at 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning. That's like everyone else's afternoon because I'm up at night anyway. So I'm not doing it at 9 o'clock at night after I have spent the whole day working or talking to people or doing whatever. I'm actually doing it right in the middle of my day to do those recordings like that. And so it's really worked out well for me whenever I want to record something and not sound like I'm tired or not have a big old scratchy voice any more than I usually do anyway.
Advantages and disadvantages, like I find in the morning, yes, you might sound fresher, but your mind's not switched on. I can read and do much better readings later at night because you're all switched on, whereas you have to you have to work your way into it early in the morning. You have to do some warm-ups, but you've already warmed your voice up by speaking all day and getting used to that.
Yeah, when I first wake up, my voice is very scratchy, very deep, and it's actually, so it does take me an hour or two to get organized before I am ready to do any speaking.
I've got to get back into doing some more this year anyway. We've got first day of spring tomorrow, so we're just coming out of winter, and first day of spring tomorrow.
Oh, congratulations! That's excellent. Yeah, that's because I know you guys have had winter while we're having hot summer. And so our fall actually starts around the 20th or 21st or something of September. So we've got roughly 20 days, and then we'll be starting the autumn, the fall, and that's my favorite season. I just love it.
We don't believe in having our seasons when there should be. We just believe on a it's tomorrow's the 1st of September. That's spring, might not necessarily, and then say summer is the 1st of December. That's it. Like in England, like I said, the winter starts on the 23rd of December in England, but no, here ours just starts on that day because we can't be bothered with messing around with in the between this one and that one. So we always start them nice and fresh. So that's why you can't usually distinguish the difference between winter and spring because it's just a day. So it's not
okay. Yeah, ours are all set up on the equinox or the solstice and things like that. But actually the last official day of summer is actually Labor Day. As far as like people are concerned. So Labor Day itself, which is like I believe the 3rd or 4th of September this year. They even have rules that women are not allowed to wear white shoes after Labor Day. It's because now it's not summer anymore; it's fall or something. It's kind of because you're supposed to wear dark shoes in the winter and light shoes in the summer.
Ours was so funny. I think so. We used to have Australia Day. We still have Australia Day, but years ago, they've only recently made it that you have to celebrate it on the day. Whereas, can you imagine you shifting the 4th of July to make it to a different day to make it more suitable?
I have had a little bit of experience with that because we have the 4th of July, but that is the actual holiday no matter when it is. But my dad's family has always had a family reunion on the 4th of July because that was my grandparents' anniversary. They were married on the 4th of July. And I know you said that was your mother's birthday, I believe. But at the same time, though, they will say, well, 4th of July is Thursday, but we're going to have it on Saturday. Well, they did that this year, and it moved it right out of my range because I am off on the 4th of July as a holiday. But I had to work Saturday, so I couldn't go to the reunion.
What we did, our holidays for is Australia Day is the 26th of January. But years ago, we used to change the day we had the public holiday to coincide with a long weekend. So if the 26th of January is on a Wednesday, we'd used to make it 24th of January was on, so change the day. But now they've said, well, it's Australia. It doesn't change. If it falls on a Sunday, we celebrate it then. Whereas before we used to change that, which is quite strange. But now we do a lot of the things celebrated on the day now, which I think it's the right thing. You're there to celebrate the day, and that's the whole point of the public holiday. Not just so you can have a long weekend and do nothing. You're supposed to be celebrating the day it's for.
Well, we're actually set up here to where most of our holidays, national holidays, come out on Mondays, so that they do give you a long weekend. Veterans Day stays on the same day. Veterans Day some of them are set up like the third Thursday in November or something, like I think that's how Thanksgiving kind of rotates. I think it stays on Thursday, but it rotates around. Veterans Day is the same way, a couple of weeks earlier. And then, so it's kind of weird. That month has 2 Thursday holidays in it, whereas everything else but Christmas and, the 4th of July, things like that, I'll always stay. We just have a bunch of Monday holidays.
We've got our next holidays in November. We all have in Melbourne, and we have a day off for the Melbourne Cup for a race meeting. So that's good. I don't mind for the Melbourne Cup, but it's only in only in the city. But I suppose everybody else says different holidays, or just call it something different, don't they?
Yeah, we have holidays almost every month except for March and April. Easter is in there, but it's not considered a national holiday that you get off. But every other month, for the most part, almost all of the other months have got a holiday within them, or right after the first of the month on the next one. Because we have, in September, of course, we have Labor Day. In October, we have Columbus Day. There's 2 holidays in November. Then there's Christmas Day, and then New Year's Day, and then Martin Luther King's birthday halfway through January. And so we're just bang, 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 bang.
That surprised me this year, because I thought, like you said, for Easter, you don't have anything off for Easter, do you? Usually.
No, it's not. It's not considered. It's not considered. It's always been on Sunday. Easter is always on Sunday, and sometimes it's in March, and sometimes it's in April. It just kind of rotates around, depending on how many weeks there are, or how many Sundays there are in each of those months, is how it goes, and it bounces back and forth between March and April. But it is not a national holiday because it's always on Sunday, so it's not a work day anyway.
We get the Friday and the Monday
and so
for Easter. Good Friday and Easter Monday.
Yeah, now, which is cool. There's such a backlash against Christianity in general in the United States that I could never imagine them ever wanting to change that. They would never do a Christian holiday and actually give people off for that. Although I'm sure even atheists would like to have Friday and Monday
You'll become religious for a couple of days, won't you? It's a bit like here is if they want to become a republic, and I think we probably will do someday. But if they want to get that across the line, I think they just say, well, if you offer the country an extra holiday, they'll vote for it. So, I think if you say, well, look, you're not going to lose the Queen's birthday as holiday, we'll give you 2 days for, our Independence Day. So that would put it across the line. So I can see us going there eventually in years to come.
Well, as soon as they, basically most voting appears to be based on handouts anyway. I'll give you this, and then all I have to do is tell you that the other guys are going to take it away from you, and I have pretty much bought your vote. And then a lot of people are set up on starting programs that they do not plan to ever fund, simply because they know that once they get people used to having it, they will start taking money from the other guys' programs in order to pay for it, because people will not want to do away with that, and then you can start shutting down what the other people wanted, the other side wanted. So it's all about handouts. I give you this, you vote for me.
Well, we're nearly getting to an hour again. We're nearly up to, it looks like over 55 minutes, I think we are already. Goes very quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it surely does, moving right along.
So have you been doing any recording this week, or audio?
No, I haven't done a recording. Went to the. I was thinking about. I was going to do a get on ACX and maybe do another thing for a book, audition for a book, but the doctor put me on a new medicine, and I had the entertaining thing to find out that if I take it without eating, or if I take it just before I eat, I get 6 hours of hiccups.
They said he's drunk again.
So, yeah. The postal, the United Postal Workers, has a new contract.
Oh dear.
And so I'm just like, oh, okay. I'm trying to trying to get that issue straightened out. And I finally figured out, okay, as long as I eat first, then I don't get the hiccups. So, there was no recording this week except for what I just now did for the last episode. I did buy me a couple of bookcases, which I have to put together, and I'm actually going to set them right here. They're about 6 feet tall, and I'm going to put some sound treatment on the back of them in order to encapsulate my box a little better here. And I'm going to take this whole side of the room over here and finally make the library that I always dreamed of. I love old books. There's certain kinds that I collect and stuff like that. And so I'll get about 8 or 9 of these bookcases over here on this side of the room, and I'll do the podcasting here, and I'm going to have me a recliner chair right in the middle of the bookcases, and I'll be able to finally have the library I always wanted and still do my podcasting and everything over here.
Well, I was trying to do a bit of video editing this week, and I thought I'll do a quick one, but when you get stuck into it, you really can't do anything quickly in video editing. Well, you can if you don't care what you're putting out, but if you want to do something that looks half decent. So
you get started on it, and then next week you finish it, right?
But I always get stuck into something else, and like this week, just uploading last week's show, it took me about 2 hours to do the audio on that. I put that back in, and then I wanted to do some video editing. I thought, okay. But then I uploaded the file to YouTube, and at 75% it said error uploading, and then I came back, did it again, did the same thing. That's why it took so long, because I had it done days before I upload. Then I couldn't upload it directly to YouTube. I had to create the file first, created the file, then upload it, so it wouldn't upload it directly from the video editing software. So that's what took me a bit while to do that. While it's doing that, I know you can still go on and do other things, but I'm one of these things, if it's doing something that's taking a long time, I don't want to tax the machine. I'll just leave the machine alone. I'm always one of these thinking, yeah, you might be able, but it might be interfering with that. So to stop it from crashing, I just left the damn thing alone, just went and did something else, and said, well, it says I'm going to take an hour to upload that, so I had to just leave it for that. So it did upload it eventually anyway.
Well, no, that's good. Whenever it showed up and everything, I was like, cool, But no, I figured I might be a little late, but I had sent you the audio for your side of it too, to save you the trouble. But I had assumed that probably I was a little late on that because you were telling me what you were running into, and then it was like, oh, okay. And so I just went ahead and sent you the other audio too, but I didn't know if I was going to be any good.
The only thing I thought was I thought this one was quite good, the audio that came through the Aphex, but I thought it was worth getting in there and dealing with that. But I thought as another what I was going to do, if it came out so badly, I was going to use yours to do a third level. So on those ones where I cut myself out when I'm trying to cut you out, I would have done that, but there wasn't that many of them. So I thought the couple of ones that did come in there, or there was some things that it cut me out, but I'm just going, okay. And they're the sort of things where we talked over each other, but there wasn't many of them.
I just assumed that would be something that if you had a need for it, it would be automatically available without you having to ask for it. So I figured, let's go ahead and send it over.
And I was quite surprised how easy I got to sync up the audio anyway, because on the one I had, I thought, that would be okay, because these like Premiere has an auto sync feature on it that can auto sync it. But it can only auto sync it if there's audio on the other side. But your audio wasn't there, was it? No, so
no,
I thought, you idiot, Jeffrey. I tried to auto, and I thought, why didn't it do it? I thought, no, because all you're going, and so that went. So I had to pick mine and sync to. Did your recording? So I said, when I said, "Hello, this is Jeffrey Platcher," and I'm Jeffrey, and I did it on that, and I'm Jeffrey Holbrook, and then it did it right. So I thought, well, and it matched in. So I thought, gee, I was lucky to do that, because I thought there's nothing of. I can't sync it on there because I'm trying to. All I can sync it on is mine, but my sound wasn't on your audio. It was only you. So because I thought, I'll just sync with mine, and then yours will come. But I thought, and I can't do that. I've only got your audio because it was on the wrong just altogether.
I got a comical idea the other day, is taking my audio from the other thing, going okay, and then record all of that. And just take all that, just have it separated, and then start some kind of music playing in the background, and then just find the ones that are the right key for the chords.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
and playing the music like that with that going on in the background. I don't know. It just struck me the other day. I started laughing out loud because it was just hilarious.
Well, you're not so silly. That's people come up with these ideas and think, let's do that. it would be really great to do. Like, remember, I don't know if you remember the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. One of the songs in there, they came up with the idea, we wanted strange sound. So what they had all this music on audio tapes. So what they did, they cut it up into 6-inch pieces, all over, mixed it all up, and then stuck it all back together. And then that was the audio. That was the crazy, like, fair sound with all going back to front, upside down. And I thought, who would have thought of doing something like that? But it really made a difference. But you wouldn't have thought just grabbing any old sound backwards, forwards. It just sounded really great. But it's just these things that get people to be stars. So when you become a big rap star for doing your so hope you remember, and I'll be the producer anyway of that. So
It sounds good. Yeah, we'll have to do that together. No, I told my daughter at some point that if she ever became famous, not because I did, but if she ever became famous as an artist, which she's a good painter, at some point, if she needed to do some kind of a retrospect, like after I'm gone or whatever, and go back, and if she wants to say something about how I influenced her art and stuff like that, that she could go back and get a bunch of my photography and do an exhibition of my photography and make all the money that she could off of it, then just consider that part of her inheritance. I'll be long gone, but all of a sudden she makes money off of my photography. It's part of your inheritance.
Well, we're at the end of our show again, but just remind people, if they are watching, we try to go live every Wednesday. What is it I've got on there? 6 a.m. US Eastern Daylight Time. I've got that right. And 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So on Wednesday. So if you subscribe, and you can catch up in this scintillating conversation every week, or the load of rubbish we get on with. So,
and if you're watching or listening to the podcast, come to the website holbrooknewmedia.com, and you can click on the video and watch this video, or go straight to his site and watch it from there if you'd like to, and see what we actually look like whenever we're laughing.
So thanks for watching. I hope to see you next week. So bye for now.